Hello creative cooks, welcome or welcome back to another episode of the Creative Phoebe Cooks channel. I'm your host Phoebe, and today we will be making 3 healthy, nutritious and gluten-free desserts that are perfect for weekly meal prep, a healthy midday snack, or for an intimate gathering event like a tea party. In no particular order, they include chocolate donuts, apple almond cookies, and pear and ginger cupcakes. One of these is completely nut-free in case you or someone you know is allergic to nuts, and the other can be made oil-free. So be sure to watch all the way through this episode so you can score big on that one. I think I've got something tasty for everyone, so I'd love to hear which one you're excited to try first. As always, find a full recipe to all of these on my blog using one of the links in the description box below. And with that, let's start baking in voiceover mode. First on the list are these gorgeous, nutrient-dense apple almond cookies, made with very simple ingredients that you probably already have on hand, like oat and almond flour, fruits, nuts, seeds, and a few aromatic spices. To begin, preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, then pour both the oat and almond flour in a clean mixing bowl. Add in cinnamon powder, allspice powder, baking soda, and fine sea salt. I'm adding in a mixture of pumpkin, sunflower, and black sesame seeds, which are great to eat more nuts and seeds and are extremely nutritious for the ladies watching, especially if you cycle sync. Next, we have golden raisins for natural sweetness, hemp seeds, and plain old-fashioned oats. These cookies, like the other treats, are not super sweet, so feel free to adjust the taste to suit your preference. For wet ingredients, combine 2 eggs, olive oil, a bit of grated nutmeg for extra oomph, and some honey. If you want these cookies to taste extra nutty, feel free to replace the olive oil with coconut oil. Avocado oil is also a great scent-free option. Add in the vanilla extract and whisk well. Next, shred 1 Fuji apple until you get about 220 to 230 grams of shredded apple. And if Fuji apples are not available to you, envy apples will work great too. And if not, I've added a link below to my guide to help you pick the best and tasty apple to help you make this recipe. And if you have any leftover Fiji apples, which you probably will, use them to make my tasteful kale and apple salad. Yep, I've also added a link below too. If you're loving this episode and already see yourself making these cookies soon, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with a friend or family member so that other creative cooks like you can easily find and make this recipe through the magic of the YouTube algorithm. Thank you. Gently incorporate the dry ingredients into the wet. And yes, you can make this cookie dough at the most a day in advance or the night before. Before baking, allow it to sit at room temperature for at least 30 minutes before proceeding. That's if you let it chill overnight. But for here, after mixing, cover and chill in the fridge for about 15 to 20 minutes for the dough to firm up, making it easier to form. This cookie dough makes 12 cookies, with each cookie weighing 66 grams, with the help of my favorite and trustworthy scale. Side note, I have been using the scale for 4 years and counting. It takes up less space on my kitchen counter and does not need constant battery changes. If you need one of these, I've added a link below for you. Scoop out some dough, weigh until you get about 66 grams, but feel free to make these cookies as small or large as you prefer, and lightly press on a parchment-lined baking sheet to about a 1/4 inch thickness and about 2 inches wide. Repeat the process for the remainder of the dough and bake for 15 minutes. Once baked and cooled, these store well in the fridge for about a week and freeze very well for up to 3 weeks. But I strongly doubt that you would let them go that long, as the flavor and textural qualities of these cookies are quite irresistible. Take a look when you crack into it, or rather, take a bite of it. It's a soft cookie that's full of fiber and ingredients that are so good for you. Next, we have these pear and ginger cupcakes, which are lightly sweet and gingery. And yes, you can also taste the pear too. If you watched my pear and gingerbread recipe a few episodes ago, you already know what these taste like. But since I made this batter the night before and let it chill overnight, I want to show you another way you can have these. First, set the bowl of batter on your kitchen counter for about 45 minutes to an hour to reach room temperature, and preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Take this time to drink some water to stay hydrated, and subscribe and turn on all notifications if you would like to see more recipe videos like this every week. Thank you. After that, line your cupcake bakeware with cupcake liners and fill to about 3/4 of the way. This batter makes about 10 cupcakes. Like all the treats we'll make today, these store well in the fridge or freezer so you can have batches of pre-made and healthy snacks ready for you to munch on. And contrary to the bread version of this recipe, bake these yummies for 18 minutes until golden and baked through. Then set aside to cool. And yes, these are completely gluten-free and nut-free and fluffy, with a fine crumb texture when you bite into them. Save these for your next eventful gathering. I've added the recipe link for you below. Next, we have these ultra chocolate donuts that are 100% gluten-free, made with 100% cocoa powder, and I'll show you my favorite cocoa powder to use for these. I bet these donuts will soothe all your chocolate cravings to the max. They just might be your new favorite snack to munch on because they're that good. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit and crack 2 eggs, separating the whites from the yolks, ensuring that there is no trace of the yolks in the whites, so that we can beat the whites with ease using a whisk or a stand mixer, whichever you have available. To the yolks, add in some plant-based milk and whisk well. I'm using cashew milk here since I used all my walnut sunflower milk that I made last week to make chia pudding. But either of the plant-based milk options I've listed below will work well for you. Next, gently add in all the dry ingredients, and those will include almond flour, oat flour, millet flour, 100% cocoa powder to achieve that rich chocolate flavor that we need, and some espresso instant coffee powder to help the cocoa powder shine. Then season with cinnamon powder, grated nutmeg, fine sea salt, baking powder, and baking soda. Mix these really well while I show you the brand of cocoa powder that I use, made by Guittard. And although this is not a sponsored segment of the video, I highly recommend their products. They're top tier, and most of them are free from a host of allergens including gluten, dairy, and nuts. I've included a link to their website below, and I hope you find that helpful. Alright, set the cocoa powder aside and beat the egg whites using a whisk or a stand mixer. Once it starts getting frothy, slowly add in the honey and whisk well until you get soft peaks. This is probably the most therapeutic portion of making this recipe, just seeing it all come together. Now add in a splash of vanilla extract in the beaten egg whites and get ready to carefully incorporate the egg white mixture in the cocoa mixture using a spatula. Scoop a bit of the beaten egg whites and add to the cocoa mixture. Swirl once clockwise and pat it towards you. Doing so will add airiness and a nice bounce to your donuts, so don't rush this process. Repeat this process until you get a homogeneous mixture with no streaks. and until the egg white mixture and the cocoa mixture are completely well combined. Then set aside for 5 minutes while bubbles form. Then prepare a metal donut bakeware by brushing on some oil or spraying the cavities of the bakeware to prevent the donuts from sticking. Alternatively, if you want this recipe completely oil-free, as we didn't use any oil in the making of this recipe, use a silicone donut bakeware. Then evenly measure out about a 1/4 cup of mixture or more, depending on the size of your bakeware and how large or small you want these donuts, and fill in each cavity of the donut bakeware. Then tap the bakeware lightly on your counter to release any bubbles, and bake for 18 minutes. Now once these are done baking, remove and set on a flat surface to cool for about 5 minutes. If you did not find any difficulty in releasing your donuts like I am, I salute you. But if you're finding some difficulty, I'd say use a palette knife to carefully ease them out. Now, for me, some came out nice and others not so much. But when you're serving these at a really nice gathering, don't worry about it, because we'll be spreading some chocolate frosting on them to cover them up. However, if you prefer to omit the chocolate frosting, keep these donuts in an airtight container and store them in your fridge or freezer. To make the chocolate frosting, it's really simple. Of course, I'm using the chocolate chips from the same brand I showed you earlier, Goddard. Measure out some chocolate chips as well as some sliced almonds in separate containers. A few ways you can melt the chocolate chips include over a double boiler or filling up a big bowl with some boiled water and submerge the bowl of chocolate chips in it, making sure it sits well in it without any water entering the melting chips. Then add in a tablespoon each of olive oil and cashew milk or any plant-based milk of your choice and mix well. Once done, set the bowl of chocolate frosting aside alongside a bowl of sliced almonds. Then dress each donut with chocolate frosting. Then top with sliced almonds and repeat the process for the remaining of the donuts. Now, topping these donuts with almond slices is a beautiful indicator to alert those allergic to nuts. Serve these chocolate donuts with a cup of tea or one of the cozy beverages I uploaded in a recent episode. I'll include a link below. When you take a bite of these chocolate donuts, you won't even notice that they are gluten-free. They're so light, airy, and gosh, so good. And that's it for today, Creative Cooks. 3 healthy, nutritious, and gluten-free desserts, one of them being nut-free, that are perfect for a weekly meal prep or for an intimate gathering event. Your choice. Save this video, check out all the links below, and let me know your thoughts on these yummies in the comments below. Get your planners too. Thank you so much for watching, and talk to you in the next episode.